Hello, welcome to this week's Letter from the Light Side. It's the 16th of March 2017 and I'm here to speak to you on behalf of the guides and inspirers, the ArchAngels and energy beings that are here helping us at the moment. Well, what a strange week it's been. Certainly jammed packed full of energy and not unexpectedly lots of full moon influence. We've moved over into the waning moon now, so plenty of time for us to let go of all the stuff that came to the surface in this last week. Speaking of which, that's the point. It's actually time for us this week to start to think about our authentic voice. I'm laughing because I'm surrounded by people saying, tell them this, tell them this, tell them this. I'm going, just a minute. I do remember when I first took my tottering steps into mediumship, kind of wondering, well, who on earth, why would they pick me? I mean, I don't even believe in them anyway. And having many a debate with the guides who came round to help me understand that it was important for them to have a voice. And I guess that's the consequence for us of shutting out the inspiration, shutting out the guidance, that we tend to plough ahead feeling like we're on our own, and we tend to do things feeling like we're the only ones responsible, and so we find lots of things to beat ourselves up for. And this is something that they want to address, because the energy that's being released at the moment is about the truth. The truth will set you free, I've just heard in my head, and it is the truth. The difficulty is, whose truth? Which bit of the truth? Which is the fake news? Which is the real news? I won't go into that debate because everybody sees it differently. Everybody sees something else in their version of the truth. Hi, Julie. One of the things that is important for us to remember is that we all have a version of the truth, and we are all part of the truth. But until we accept that responsibility and know that it's our job to represent our truth, then only partial truth ever gets heard. To look at the American situation, for instance, at the moment, hi Marie, one of the things that you could believe is that every American hates anybody outside of America, and I know that's not the truth. You know that's not the truth. To look at our own UK situation, you could say that all the Scottish people hate all the English people. That's not the truth either. It's not necessarily hate, and it's just about disagreement and maybe people's voices feeling like they haven't been heard. We've had two significant energy shifts in the last 7 days. We were asked to love ourselves, because the important thing about energy shifts is they bring things to the surface for us to look at, for us to decide whether you want to do this or want to do that, for us all collectively to make big decisions. However, while it's hidden, we don't know it's there, while voices aren't raised and people aren't speaking, then we plod along doing things not knowing that we're just making the situation worse. So loving ourselves, part of loving ourselves, is to also acknowledge we have a voice. something I found very difficult to deal with, even though those who know me will say, she's always talking. Yeah, I am. But I spent a lot of my life trying to tell people what they'd rather hear, or telling people what they didn't want to hear, and feeling like I had no voice anyway. So the energy we've been in has been about freeing up the voice, shaking us loose of our general level of politeness. Thanks for the video share, love and light. It's about us speaking our truth so that we can contribute to a greater truth. And we only get to do that if we speak our truth. One of the things that I do know is that these lovely energy beings who are around me at the minute wanted me to be vlogging, video blogging and YouTubing and whatevering, channeling for the last 3 years. And I kept going, oh, don't know if I can do that. You managed to get me to stand up in public and give messages and get comfortable with that, and I can do the teaching and and I'm comfortable with that. But this thing called video, too technical, too scary. What will I look like? Oh my God. Hi, Jules. That wasn't the only thing that came to mind. What came to mind was, what have I got to say? What can I add that's different? And they've never taken it away. They've just kept saying, you've got to do it. And I've kept saying, maybe. However, what has come about is this shift into Ascension Consciousness. They've talked to me for quite some time, probably a couple of years, about the step that we're now all taking. We have to shift our way of being. We have to move ourselves forward, because it's the only positive way to make the changes we need happen. And that involves all of us finding our voice. And what they did with me was to help me with my blogging. I finally got to write a blog every day and get into the habit, and I wouldn't swap it for the world. I love it to bits, even if I kind of go, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. They always have a subject ready for me to talk about. It led to a book, which is on its editing process at the moment, and I'm resisting editing it right now. I'm good at avoidance, I'm really good. But whatever we choose to do, they wrap us in their warmth and love, and they encourage us that we can step forward outside of our comfort zone, and we can do more. What we have to recognise is what the more is. What is it that we need to do on our spiritual journey that allows us to improve, but not just for ourselves, improve for everybody else. I certainly used to think that if I gave and gave and gave and gave to everybody, then that's how things would improve. I forgot to give to myself, of course, and I forgot to consider that people, whatever you give them, they might kind of say, well, it's not what I want, or I want more, or whatever. So in learning to balance the giving and the receiving, it's also about learning to balance the asking and the saying, really. So what can we expect this next week? I hate to say more of the same. If, like me, by Tuesday morning you definitely wanted to stay under the covers and tell the world to get lost, keep strong, keep as positive as you can, because these are just the peaks and troughs of the energy clearing. You may find yourself inspired, inspired to speak to people, inspired to write, inspired to set off on a new opportunity. This next week has got some of those lovely aspects to it. Of course, we are still dealing with the fallout of recognising that a lot of hidden stuff has been going by unsaid. We are still grappling with the low vibrational side of being human, of the judgment and the pain and the hatred and the anger and the fear. We're still grappling with that. We're going to grapple with that. It's part of being human. However, we don't have to be involved in beating ourselves up about those feelings. What we have to do is notice that we've got them in the first place. Be honest enough to say it's actually easier if I can blame that person and that person and that country and blame them over there. And if we can do that, it somehow takes us away from having to think about what's inside of us and what we're constantly doing, which is keeping our voice quiet until we're pushed beyond, and then we shout, and then we get unhappy with ourselves and we get shouting back. The ArchAngels particularly have come in today because they want to encourage us to use the energy of this next week to love every bit of ourselves, even the bits we don't like, even the bits we perhaps even hate, to give ourselves permission to say, yes, I have those moments, and yes, I could say those things or do those things, but I'm doing my best to move from that position. The ArchAngels just bring love. They just bring pure love. And they love all of our flaws. They're fascinated by our flaws. And our flaws are coming to the surface. As humans, we've got flaws. It doesn't mean that we will be totally bad. It doesn't mean that we were a write-off of ourselves. What it means is that we can look at those flaws. So they're asking you to see where you perhaps don't do things the way you would like to. I don't like me when I go into Mrs. Angry mode. I spent a lot of my life in Mrs. Angry mode, and I don't like it when I go back into Mrs. Angry. It's an old habit and it's dying hard. However, it's part of me. Being angry is an energy, an emotion I can use. It's just I don't have to get angry outwards. I can use that energy to change. I can turn it into, right, what am I going to do about that? Rather than what are they going to do about that? I can use my sadness, and this last week there's been a release of sadness. I can use my sadness to say, okay, what do I do to help myself in those times when I do feel grief and loss? Do I give myself permission to feel that I'm grieving? Do I recognise it as grief even, or do I just sort of go, oh, you're not allowed to cry? There's so much we can do with these emotional states. There's so much we can move forward if we look at them and look at them in a very positive way. There's still going to be, in the next week, more revealed. We've still got lots of truths to find out. We've got to see human nature as it really is, our own, not just what's happening in the world. And then we've got to be able, according to the angels, to love ourselves enough to say, right, that gives me information about me that I can use to make better choices next time. And one of the best choices is to speak as you find. Now, that kind of saying has become associated with being tactless or being blunt. We do dress things up an awful lot when we speak. We make it very fluffy when perhaps we don't need to make it fluffy. What we need is to communicate how we feel. Not assume how others feel, but just speak plainly, honestly, openly about our own feeling, to encourage the other person to speak plainly, honestly and openly about their feeling. That's the way of getting at the truth, because sometimes it turns out we're feeling the same way, we just haven't recognised it. And because going into access our feelings gives us more information, it allows us to handle things in a different way. Ascension Consciousness is a state where the energy that you transmit outwardly mirrors the energy that you contain within, and it's your spirit living through your human body. It's you being able to operate in all that you say and all that you do in perfect alignment with your spirit self. It's a big ask, because we don't do that at the moment. Very few people have reached that state of evolution to be able to live like that. That's why we're on the journey into that state of being. So this week, speak your truth, speak honestly, speak openly, understand that others will be doing the same, that it's not a personal thing, it's not about whether you're liked or disliked, it's about coming to what is underneath, what's underlying everything, what's in the energy. If someone is short with you or abrupt with you, don't take it personally. If someone is supportive, grab it. Be supportive back. The trend for all of us is towards the Ascension Consciousness. Some will go in big strides, some will go in little strides. This next week, as we move from one energy phase into another, we're losing the Piscean influence and we're going into the Aries. We're going into the new beginnings, the young energy. So it is about trying to have all your interactions in a different way over the next week. Having positive interactions, receiving the healing energy. It's coming in right now, so I'm sending it out to all of you, this loving healing energy from the ArchAngels. They love us completely. We have to learn to love ourselves completely. So take that loving blessing from them, use it to bolster you as you go through your week. Some technical stuff's going to go on, so just be aware of phones and, dare I say, microwaves. Just transport's another bit of a gnarly problem as well. Things that we tend to think make our life easier may be problematical. Time-saving devices may be problematical over the next week. Again, what we're being asked to notice is our reliance on other things and assuming that there's always a backup, when we're the backup really. It's our ability to speak, our ability to progress through the world that's important, not everything else around. Be very kind to yourself through Sunday, Monday. There's a bit more energy blast coming in, which is about when we won't look at the truth, when we don't want to see the truth, sometimes it is put so in front of us that there's no way of avoiding it. So, hi Bev, so there's a little bit of we're still avoiding the things that we should pay attention to. And so they want you to know that the energies around Sunday, Monday are all about, we can't avoid it anymore. A few home truths is what they're telling me. Being aware that they need to say to you, don't take it personal. Do not take it personal. When we find our voice and we haven't spoken for a long time, you tend to get bleh, everything comes out. Okay, don't take it personal. People are processing, learning how to speak their truth and how to be comfortable with the honesty that that brings. So just take it steady and take it in as clear-sightedness as you can. I know that the encouragement is there. I know that they're walking alongside of you. I know that we are shifting things, that we are getting further ahead than we think we are at the moment. It's a very positive general energy. So I do want to say also, expect a little bit of luck and good fortune. Expect some of the things you've been wanting to manifest to come in, particularly Tuesday and Wednesday next week. There's a lot of lovely energy about just the positive vibes, because every stride forward means that we get a positive space to be in. That's what they want you to be in, a positive space. But they also know that we're human, and finding a positive space is sometimes hard. Somebody's just called out from the back, keep your chin up, love. I think that might be my mum. I'm not sure. However, if you can take that on board, if you can help yourself to keep supported, by all means play this video, remind yourself, play a snippet of it, have a look at my Facebook wall. I do try and put positive things on there, and my daily blogs to try and help people with what's happening and how things are emerging. Other than that, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. If you've got most of the video, fabulous. If you haven't, it will be there for you to watch again. I'm going to send you all of their love and all of their light and all of their healing, because it's coming in a big wave once again. I want to say thank you for those who shared my video. I do appreciate it, because this is very new for me and very still. I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know the love that surrounds us. And I do want you to know the love that surrounds you, that whatever you need will always be provided, even if it doesn't feel like it at this time. Be gentle with yourselves. If you need time out, take time out. If you need people, go find people. Look after you, because you are the ones who will make it through. Thank you very much for sharing my video, being here, and it's been lovely to talk on behalf of the energy beings. Thank you.